Spursy by name, Spursy by nature. What's up, guys, and welcome back to this week's episode of the podcast. Thankfully, based on our current form, the last Spurs-specific episode of the year. Couple of things quickly before I introduce Harry as usual. Couple of things quickly. First and foremost, my condolences, I'm sure Harry's, and I'm sure every reasonable, respectful Tottenham fan as well, for Mikel Antonio. He was involved in an absolutely horrific car accident over the course of the weekend that is potentially going to end his career. He's broken multiple bones. He's awake and conscious, thank God for that. But going into the Christmas period, regardless of what football club he played for, he's still a human being. He's still got a family. He's still got kids. So we send all of our condolences here, and I'm sure every Spurs fan does, any reasonable Spurs fan does as well. And I hope he makes a swift recovery. I personally don't think he's going to play again. I think he'll retire, given his age. But you never know. He'll probably come back to Hornets one more time. But I wish him all the best, and hopefully he makes a speedy recovery and recovers well, and hopefully in time for him and his family to have a good Christmas. Second thing, and I'm talking about this before we actually start the main bulk of the podcast because I don't want to spend time on it because I don't think these next set of people deserve the time. But I am embarrassed and ashamed for every single twat, not Spurs fan because you're not a fan, every single twat who threw something on the pitch on Sunday's game. I don't care who you are, what it is dangerous, it is reckless, it is stupid. No, I'm not an old granddad. No, I don't think the rivalry doesn't exist anymore. But it is just plain stupid to be throwing stuff on the pitch. Because the only people that could get punished are the club and the players and the other fans that go to the game and that are respectful and that are there to see us win and there to see us play well and there to support the team and back the players. Doing something like that is absolutely stupid and absolutely pathetic. And I hope the club find them and give them a suspension for at least next season. And then if it happens again with the same players and the same fans, then they're given a permanent ban because I think it's immature, it's childish, and it's dangerous.
No, in all of Europe, Turkey, Greece, and it happens all the time.
Spurs fans, I think if it was happening to us and Chelsea fans were doing it to us, they would feel the exact same way. So personally, I don't think it should be in football in general. You can have your tifos, have your banners, have your smoke screens, whatever, depending on where you are in Europe. But I think once you start throwing stuff at players, I think it's just plain stupid. So for those of you that have done that, if you get to go to the next game, think long and hard before you do it again.
I don't think don't do it again. Hard, but anyway.
They won't, but let's go. Anyway, on speaking of the devil, can't keep his mouth shut, as always. Harry, I'm assuming, obviously, you echo my thoughts with Mikel Antonio.
Yeah, and, I saw some of the pictures, unfortunately.
Mate, it's horrific.
No, as in like the actual car and shit.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. How the hell he's come out of that alive, I really don't know. But yeah, we send his best. Harry's back. He's always back. I don't really know why I introduced him anymore, to be honest. But here he is. Harry was with a magic touch. He's not Harry Potter.
I wish I was.
On the topic of, right, so there's a lot to dissect for the weekend, and I'm not going to talk about Thursday because I feel like it's been massively overshone from everything that happened at the weekend.
Oh, the Bournemouth game, yeah, that was pathetic.
Obviously, we lost, right, and it's shit that we lost. And I said something to you just before we started recording, and you looked confused at me. We officially are now at the point where players have called out the ownership publicly. Now, for a very, very, very long time, for as long as I've known you, it has been all you've ever wanted is players that are ambitious and players that really are natural-born leaders and natural-born winners stand up and go, I want to play for this football club, but I want to play for this football club whose ambitions are challenging for the title and not play for this football club if all the owners want to do is settle for mid-table. And through all that, and I'm going to read exactly what
Did you not forget what Danny Rose said?
No, but Danny Rose was different. Danny Rose, the way he did it was salty because Walker got the move and he didn't. This is a player who's...
What Rose said was true, though.
It was true. It was true, yes, but he was doing it for his own reasons, not to boost the improvement of the club. What Christian Romero said yesterday to the BBC is absolutely unbelievable. And I'm surprised. I don't think you know the words that he's used because I would expect you to be bouncing off the walls at this in happiness. You have waited for it. It's like Christmas has come 8 years too late. You have waited this for such a long time. I'm going to read the word for word exactly what he said about the investment in Tottenham and the reason why we're falling behind. The truth is, I would say no comment, but Manchester City competes every year. You see Liverpool strengthen their squad, Chelsea strengthen their squad. If one doesn't do well, they strengthen again, and now they're seeing results. Those are the things to imitate. The last few years, it's always been the same people responsible, brackets at Tottenham. Hopefully they, referring to the Tottenham hierarchy, realise who the true responsible ones are and that we move forward because it's a beautiful club that the structure has, could easily be competing for titles every year. He also retweeted a post
I know, I heard about
outright blaming Daniel Levy for the stagnation of this football club and the fact that the players believe in the manager, and if the players leave and the manager leaves, it's going to be because Daniel Levy hasn't fulfilled his promises and Daniel Levy hasn't matched the ambition that he's promised the players when they've come in. This may well be a turning point for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, because when you hear pundits say it and when you hear fans say it, we can't put pressure on Daniel Levy. But the minute one of his star players, one of the players that's coming to the period where you need him to sign a new contract, is coming out and saying this, he's got Daniel Levy by the balls and gone, I don't give a shit now. I want a new contract. I want to stay. I want us to win things. But if you don't, and I'm forced to leave because you won't match the ambition of the manager and of the players, and you won't sign the players that we know we need to be successful, I'm going to throw you under the bus to the fullest extent on my way out. And the fact that he's done this now as a... Say?
Didn't Kane do something similar though? Because he had an interview with
Kane's interview was more about, if the club don't match my ambition, I'm going to go.
We know what Kane's ambitions were, though.
Yeah, but Kane was never forceful like this. Kane was never vocal like this. No offense, but Kane didn't have the track record of winning something elsewhere. I know he spent the majority of his career at Spurs, but even at Country, where we had some of the best players, we had a half-decent manager, Kane never pushed us to that level. You look at Romero, when Argentina in the World Cup, he was such a key player, and even Messi said it, and Martinez said it, he was such a key player for their success, and the reason their defence was so solid, which won them the World Cup in the end. The fact that he's come out and gone, well, I know my ability level, I know what I'm capable of, and I know what offers I'll get if you don't pull your finger out your ass. Well, but I want to stay for you.
In the summer, maybe you forgot this, he was talking. They asked him about, because there was rumours going around about Real Madrid, and they go to him, well, there's rumours going around about Real Madrid, blah, 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 whatever it was. Would you be interested to leave? So I can't remember the exact phrase. Anyway, but he said something like, well, always with my agent, I assess my
options,
But where I think that is, when you're like on the dating market, you think, oh, that's my options. I know someone's interested in me and blah, 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 but it's not the person I want. So that's how I took it. And he was like, and now Real Madrid are linked with him. Like, I think he might be using this, I hate to say it, as a way to get out, to make himself look better before he leaves the club in some ways. I don't know.
I don't think so. I think, and there was a statement he made about Andrew. We'll talk about Andrew separately because it's a whole different conversation. But just specifically his actions at this point, 3 weeks before the transfer window opens. How long have you waited for a player to step up? You've always said it's all well and good stepping up on the pitch, but if you really care and you want the club to be ambitious, sometimes you have to step up off the pitch. This is what you have asked for as long as I have known you. We've known each other, back end of 2016, start of 2017, roughly, give or take. God knows how many years, too long.
8 years,
and for as long as I've known you, all you've ever wanted is a player to go, do you know what, Levy? It reminds me of in Coach Carter, where one of the guy's mums is the kid's pissing around and he's banned him until he gets his grades. The first individual kid. And she walks into the shop and she goes, he could go and play for anywhere else, but he wants to play for you. He wants to wear your badge. He wants to be managed by you. Romero has literally come out, carbon copy, in the last 24 hours and gone, I want to play for Ange. I want to play for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Yes, I'm good enough to go anywhere, but I want to win here. And that is exactly what you've asked for so long. I know your opinion of Ange.
What Conte did, that's what I asked for.
But what I'm saying is the manager doing it on their way out, slamming the door means nothing. He was already going to go anyway. This is a player who wants to stay,
At the same time, if you
saying that he wants this to happen.
Tell me Conte wasn't wrong.
No, I'm not saying he wasn't wrong, but what I'm saying is Conte did it to salvage his reputation as he slammed the door on the way out.
I could argue the same about Romero.
No, I don't think he is. I'll tell
Romero
you why.
Most likely to get sold to Real Madrid in the summer. We spoke about this months ago.
But I tell you why I don't think that's why I think the situation is different. It's because he's also in another conversation. I don't think I got the screenshot for that. Let me see if I saved the tweet, because there was something else he said which clearly shows about now and not the summer or whatever. Where is it? Because I've saved quite a few shit to use against you today. So one Tottenham Hotspur player, obviously we know, simply believes the squad lacks depth and further investment is needed to push forward top of the table. The players have given their overwhelming support for Postecoglou on record to the ownership, and the positive feelings being reflected in the record of conversation with BBC Sport. This is relevant in terms of the fact that they're saying, we believe, regardless of what you believe as a fan, you've always said, I want the players to believe in the manager, because that's 50% of it. Whether you agree with the manager or not, right this second in this minute conversation is by the by, because we're not talking about you. We're not talking about fans here. We'll talk about fans' situation and belief in Ange in a second. We're talking about the players, right? The fact that the key players, the leadership group players, the senior players are going publicly, we need more investment. The owners need to pull their finger out of their arse. We want to win, but we want to do it at this football club. We need better quality to do that, but we believe this manager's the right one. Regardless of whether you believe in the specific manager or not, that scenario itself is what you've been asking for forever. You've been asking for a set of players that go, we want the manager backed, we believe in the manager, we're going to keep playing for the manager, we know certain players aren't good enough to be starters, we need the quality, we need the depth, the ownership needs to go and get it, or we're all going to fuck off. And then when you sack the manager, everyone's going to turn on you.
Why is Tom the captain then not saying it? And it's Romero.
But this is we don't know. We don't know how many other people echo this opinion.
Because the problem is that I could argue this on the flip side. So, for example, a lot of the players, in my opinion, get an easy ride on that Ange. Like, he has his favourites. He loves his Johnson. He loves Johnson. He's clearly doesn't like Maddison, right? So I wouldn't imagine Maddison would say something similar to this, to be honest. Like, what I'm saying is Romero's clearly one of his favourites because he rushed him back, and we'll get into the game in a bit, but he rushed him back on the weekend, I think. And same with Van Dijk, he rushed them both back. In a desperation to save his job. That's why I saw it. But anyway. But like, as in, what I'm trying to say is, every manager, like, it's like under Redknapp. I hate to segue to this, but if someone like Cranjar came out and said something like that, or Defoe, or whatever, I'd be like, I'm not surprised.
You're saying it would have more merit if it came from a player that isn't one of Ange's favourites over one that is.
Yeah,
but then would you not argue though?
What I'm saying is, that sounds weird. Like, Sonny, I don't think has a bottle for it. So
no, I don't think so either. No.
Maddison, they clearly fallen out, so forget that. And he's part of the leadership group. And obviously, Romero's the only one left. But then if someone like, I don't know, like not Kulusevski, because he said about we win at life, but like, I don't know, like a Bentancur even, I don't know, but like someone you wouldn't expect said it, I'd be a bit more on board. And the problem with the Romero thing is because Romero is always like, I saw the earlier quotes we spoke about when I was asking about him about leaving, is I could argue you could be in the same thing the Conte did, is like, oh, I want to pay this club, but because Levy doesn't back, like, he's giving the fans almost like an excuse to say, look, this is why I left.
Okay,
even though Kane did the similar thing, which is why I
do get what you're saying, but I think the difference is when Kane came to doing it, he already knew that it wasn't going to happen, so he was doing it to clear his slate to move on. I agree with that. I think because of Romero's age, and I think because he knows that move will be there. I think Romero knows if he signs a new 2-year contract extension at Spurs, that he could still get a top club after that and go like Modric. Modric didn't leave us till he was, 27, 28?
And Modric wanted to leave the summer before he left.
No. What I'm saying to you is Modric left at that age and still went on to be ridiculously successful. I mean, Romero knows that as long as he maintains his own personal level, even if Spurs are shit, Spurs being worse will just make a move easier for him in 2 years' time. So realistically, all he's doing is kind of showing the fans that actually within the dressing room, it's not just us saying the club aren't backing managers, the club are giving managers the bare minimum. We needed a striker. We got a bare minimum, the first choice striker, whatever. And it's not just the fans saying that. The fact that there is belief within the dressing room that they personally believe in the direction we're going, and they personally believe that if we had better quality and we had better play, like, no offense, right? We'll talk about a little bit about the game now because it kind of blends in with it. But Sarr, for example, I was disappointed in him with that penalty because he knows better than that, and he's been better than that. And we all know that's the first time we've seen Sarr do something like that. So I'm not concerned.
More disappointed, or not disappointed, not even surprised, with Basuma.
Right, I'll get on to Basuma in a second. But with Sarr, for me personally, I'm disappointed because he knows better than that. He has been better than that. And we know that that's a one-off, desperation, whatever. I don't necessarily disagree. Basuma, on the other hand...
The only player I can think hand on my heart that's improved under Ange. That's the only player.
Stop changing the fucking topic of conversation. Let's have one topic of conversation, finish it, and then move on.
Hang on about Sarr a lot.
Right, 2 seconds. So, whereas Basuma, I completely agree with you. He knows better. He has a habit of doing this shit. All it does is prove that he's not reliable when we're defending, which means, realistically, he should be a squad player.
I'm not defending him, by the way. I don't rate Basuma regardless. But we're putting him into these situations because we're telling him, I don't know if you saw it in the phase before, like the transition, whatever, when he lost the ball, and because he was so high up the pitch, he had to run like a crazy man. And what I'm saying is, when you're running that much, we know we run the most out of any team in the league. Yeah. I don't know how much we play.
It's by quite a bit.
But so what I'm saying is, by the time you get to that point and they get in to make the tackle or make the shot, like I look at Solanke. Don't get me wrong. Again, I don't think he's the best striker in the world. I don't think he's at anywhere near the level I would say like an Isak or something like that. I really want. But at the same time with him, he does so much running that by the time he gets a chance, sometimes he's probably knackered. If that makes sense.
To be fair, he did take his chance really well. But again, let's not digress. But I understand what you're saying, but I just think in that moment...
At the same time, I don't rate Basuma, right? I don't. And he's not...
I agree with you in the sense of, I think okay, for argument's sake, and I know that we have our difference of opinion of him, whether it's suiting his system or not, but if you put Højbjerg in that same position, having ran back the same distance, he has a sensible enough head to go, there's no threat here. As long as I block the shooting angle near post, they've got to cut it back. They're being man-marked. There's a spare man. No, right. Højbjerg hasn't got the creative passing ability to benefit in both. So he would have just been the defensive.
This is the problem with the system, really, to be honest.
But this is where I say to you, this is another example of where the players probably feel, and as defenders, because with our defence has created so many chances, but struggled a bit with security. I think that's where someone like Romero can go. I think someone like Romero can go to Daniel Levy and go, actually, Basuma should be a bit further forward. So if he loses the ball, he's not the one we're relying on to make the last-minute decisions. That's where you need the mature level head, or that's where you need the naturally more defensive-minded head.
I don't know if he's got his ban, but that's why Ben's call for me is
I agree with you, but what I'm saying to you is he's
the only one I say trust, right?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah. But I was doing a bit of research on Cardoso earlier. You know, the guy that we did that dodgy deal with Batista. Right, so I was doing some research on him earlier, and he's in the 97th percentile for defensive stats in La Liga. His clearances and his defensive positioning or some shit, whatever, is in like the 98%, and his ball recoveries is in the 99%, and his all that stuff is high, but his passing ability is also in that upper area. So that's what makes me think, actually, maybe there was some sort of plan in that deal. Granted, we're going to have to wait 6 months longer than we should have done, and we should have just got it done in the summer. But actually, we're already looking at a player that we've kind of already got dibs on, if you like, or we've already got a 90% deal agreed. They'll have had a contract there for, if we sign you within this distance from the original deal, then this will be the contract. Like, all that paperwork will probably be ready, if I'm being honest with you.
Pull the trigger on the fee and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when I look at him and when I look at his quality, when I look at his numbers, he's injured at the moment. But when I look at it, ironically, when I look at his numbers, he's like Bentancur, but with Basuma's drive forward and Basuma's passing range in the final third. And if, let's say, the plan is next summer to pull that in and bring him in, and he does that job and he does it to, on paper, what it suggests he's capable of, then that solves that problem. And
but does it though? Because you're still asking, the problem is with this system is you're asking these players to run crazy amounts of running, right? because we're so open. Like, I don't know if you saw Match of the Day afterwards. The other day, they showed how many spaces we were leaving. Like, it was insane. Like, it was actually mental. I was like, what the hell?
We'll get on to Ange specifically in the
What I'm
section.
saying
But
is these players do so much. No wonder we get so many injuries. They do so much running. Remember under Poch's early years, they were doing the same thing, right?
yeah.
The difference is Poch's players were like, I don't know. He actually kind of learned, I thought, later on, and said we don't play such a high intense every game.
I would argue though that we actually became.
And also,
once we left the lane though, we stopped being so aggressive and we stopped being so intense. We weren't as effective.
That's because the players were tired because they had to run some. You remember Dele Alli's comment about the running? What was it? I have legs of a 4-year-old.
But this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying though is at that point, if you're going to play that way and the players believe in that way, then squad depth and quality helps fix that problem. I'm not saying it's going to solve that problem, but it helps fix that problem.
I don't know, but I'm saying, well, the thing is with Poch, I could see progression. Yeah, with Ange, I did not see any progression. In fact, I think we're getting work.
But I think I would have agreed with you 36 hours ago, or 12 hours ago.
We lost more than we won now this season.
I would agree with you 12 months ago. But when I look at our squad and I look at the optimum quality and the optimum ability level and the optimum depth we're going to need to play Ange's way, to be at the point where he has everything he needs and no excuses to play. He has everything he needs to play his way and no excuses. After 12 months, that's when you make a decision. For us to get the squad in that stage, if I was to go through it now and tell you how many of the current players actually fit into that, I'm going to say less than 6. In fact, you know what? Let's do it. And right, don't just be stupid for a second. Be level-headed and think about Ange's press, Ange's creativity.
Oh, yeah, Ange's nonsense. Okay, let's go.
Right, no, just right. Harry, we're going to have a serious thing here. Let's just look at it from a balance. Right. Fraser Forster, no. We know that already.
But then he's actually done well recently.
He has actually done well, yeah. Vicario, I'd say not a starter, but definitely part of the squad, so that's one. Yeah, Whiteman and Austin, no, because they've been around donkeys for those.
I can't really say anything.
Ben Davies, short term, yes. Long term, no. So I'm going to say no.
I heard.
Yeah. I'm going to say short term, yes, because he's been brilliant as a backup left centre back, and the line drops off, and his communication's good, and he has been a bit of a leader in those moments. But long term, is he a suitable replacement backup for Van de Ven? No. Romero, yes. Spence, for me, yes, but for Ange, clearly no. Pedro Porro, yes. Destiny Udogie, yes. Both of those on the proviso they have adequate competition, because that's when we saw the best of Udogie last year because there was no expectation. Once the expectation comes in, on those bad forms, it was shown with Son last year the year before Ange when Son got dropped and then came off the bench, got a hat-trick. You need competition for places, you need quality and depth, and we're linked back with that left-back from Serie A again, who's got similar stats to Udogie. If we go,
Grogu.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. If we go and bring him in, and he can push Udogie, and he's young and he's got athleticism and his running stats are unreal, then I think that could be beneficial. Van de Ven, yes. Dragusin, at the moment, no, because I don't think he's composed enough on the ball.
30 million.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I think.
The problem with saying this, right, is Ange signed off this player like in January, yeah, and we're saying, oh no, he doesn't suit the system. Well, hold on.
I'm starting to get a feeling that Dragusin was more of a panic. We need someone more than it was a. This is my first choice.
To be fair, my argument for Dragusin is, I've seen him play for Romania. I think the system's killing him, personally.
But this is what I'm saying, though. The manager in the system has to take priority. He shouldn't have signed a player that does.
Rodri are really good friends, right? And this is why I'm going to go to Rodri, because Rodri got the Ballon d'Or, so he can't be a bad DM. He told Rodri, you won't survive in this system, yeah? And we're talking about Rodri, the best number 6.
Yeah, but that's because Rodri's too slow, though.
No, but if the best number 6 can't survive in this system, it means the system must be wrong. Because
right, listen, what football players discuss between each other, I still don't think is all that. But anyway, Dragusin for me.
Rodri right now, Rodri right now.
I still think that Dragusin, because he's talking about two different positions here. I still think Dragusin, for me right now, is he suited to the system? No. Can he be? Yes, if he improves on that composure and improves on that maturity. Game time has helped him to a degree. But I think if we saw him partnered with Van der Ven and not Ben Davies, I think we'd see a bit more of what he was capable of.
It goes back to the system, because Van der Ven, as we saw on the weekend for whatever time he was on the pitch, or in previous years, because obviously it's been a year since then, he literally carries the whole system. Now, let's be honest. Van der Ven carries the whole system. Without him, we literally the amount of runs I see him going across, even for Romero. I'm not saying Romero's been bad, completely, by the way. Even when he literally covers everyone.
Yeah, he's a sweeper of all man Tottenham.
It's a one-man team. This is why when people talk about, Joel had Berbatov or something,
You say that though. I watched a video the other day, actually before I got in the shower, of Jamie Carragher talking about, and Jermaine Defoe talking about why Chelsea can't win the league this season. And apart from the goalie situation, which I agree, they said that every single title-winning team has an outstanding player in every position. Liverpool have Van Dijk or Salah. Man City had Haaland, or they had Aguero, or they had Rodri, or whatever. You look at Arsenal, Saliba is that player who carries that Arsenal team. He's that player who's a cut above everybody else.
Yeah.
There is nothing wrong. Once we improve the players around him, there is nothing wrong to say that Van der Ven is that player. It doesn't have to. You look at Chelsea and the best Chelsea team. Yeah, they had great players across the pitch. But one of the standouts was John Terry. He was a leader. He cleared up after everyone. He shagged everyone's misses.
I'm just saying the problem with that player, we rely on him so much. It's like when we had Bale. Bale, you could say, Hannah, let's all sit and disagree about this, was that outstanding player for us.
Yeah.
The problem was everyone else around him wasn't the level, yeah? So Van der Ven, for me, is that outstanding player. The problem is you're killing the guy's hamstrings.
But this is what I'm saying to you, though. I think that will be less prominent when the quality around improves, which is what Romero's called for. Anyway, let me go back through the list of players. Archie Gray, yes. And the reason I'm saying yes, even though he's not been played where we both believe he should be played, the fact that he's been played enough shows that he does rate him and he does value him. And one thing Andrew said, and I mentioned this a couple of weeks back, actually, not to blow smoke up your own arse, but I'm going to blow smoke up your own arse for a change. One of the things he said was sometimes the ability to understand defensively loads of different positions will make you more well-rounded and more mindful as a player, so that when you're in positions of more vulnerability, you're better prepared for it. And that's what I turned around and said at the time, and why I said I wasn't too worried about him playing at fullback, even though he was being burnt for pace. Pace really was the only main problem with him at fullback. His passing range was great. Got a good assist in the Europa League the other day, a couple of weeks back. But this is what I'm saying to you. He's being rinsed for pace, not for ability. And for me personally,
I'm still with Archie Gray.
I just think personally, the volume of game he's played, I think he'll be moved into the six as soon as Ange has a right back he can trust to rotate with Porro. But anyway, Maddison, I'm going to say yes if the quality around him is up to the level of...
I hate to say this because I think Maddison's been completely misused as a player, completely, in general. The system does not suit him. No,
I sit there and wonder why. I think thought he would get what we're getting out of Kulusevski from Maddison in the central role, and that's not really Maddison. Maddison is that kind of player
Kulusevski, why he works in the system better, apart from the fact Andrew wasted him for a year on the right. But as in because he's a ball carrier and Ange just loves athletes, which is why we're linked with Gallagher. Yeah. Maddison's more of we had this discussion before, right? He likes to drop off, not too deep like he's been forced to, but be a spray, switch the play, let's say, a lot more. Because he's more he'll rather carry the ball and do 1-2.
Do you think if we'd have had a better right winger last year, do you think he'd have moved Kulusevski in a year earlier and we wouldn't have signed Maddison?
We did sign Maddison. What do you mean? Maddison was one of his first signings, wasn't it? We got him last summer? Or summer before, sorry.
No, that's what I'm saying. We got him in the first year. If we'd have had a right winger that year that was good enough to start, do you think he'd have moved Kulusevski into the middle that year?
Beforehand. I mean, we signed You forget Kulusevski was on loan and we just did it permanently, so I don't know.
So, to be honest with you, though, I think he saw Kulusevski on the right wing, saw his athleticism and went, mate, I know where I'm putting you. Whereas that's one of those things that you're never going to quite see until you're in the job and you're in the nitty-gritty of it, if that makes sense.
I saw it from like the first week. I don't even manage to...
Well, I know you did, but the difference is we've been watching Tottenham for fucking donkeys. We've seen Kulusevski for years, and we saw him at right wing back under Conte sometimes and whatever. We knew he had the athleticism, whereas Ange, from a couple of highlight clips from YouTube, but also, and what Daniel Levy's told you, you're never going to see it to that level.
But even under Conte, though, he didn't really play as a winger. He plays as an inverted forward, like Son did. Like, they weren't really...
No, but that's what I'm saying, that it wasn't about their athleticism and about their pressing, so it's hard to judge.
Ange didn't do his homework, and he thought, he plays on the right, mate, let's put him on the right. And he just left him on the right.
But if you go into a club, and you go, right, I want a profile of every player, and someone goes, he's a right winger, cuts inside, only really goes left foot.
He prefers playing in the 10. This is what I don't get.
But what I'm saying is, he wouldn't have gone to Kulusevski before he takes a job and go, hi, mate, where do you fancy playing if I take over? No, he'd have gone to Daniel Levy and gone, can I have a breakdown of all the players, where they play.
Basuma, like earlier, I'm sure his name will come up in a minute, but we were saying how Basuma doesn't seem like he's getting wrecked, yeah?
Yeah.
Apparently, the reports were when Ange joined that he wanted to build his team around Basuma. So who didn't do his
I don't know what's... But they're just reports. So we can't...
Literally for us, pretty much.
Anyway, let's go on, because otherwise we're never going to get through these players. But Maddison, I'm going to say...
I'm saying no.
Yes, if we have all the quality around him. No, if we don't. In the current state, no. Spurs 2 years down the line with good transfers, potentially. Bentancur, yes. I think he really fits the system. His athleticism there.
He's a malleable player in the sense that he can do like 3 different roles.
Yeah. I would say Basuma as squad depth for an 8, yes, but nothing more than that.
I want him gone, to be honest. I don't want him at the club.
I wouldn't lose sleep if he was sold. I really wouldn't lose sleep if he was sold.
I'm not in the minority for that, actually, by the way.
No, I don't think so either.
From people I speak to, at least.
Yeah. I think that's an example of one of those players who,
big fish
on paper, fits what you're looking for, but in practicality, when you actually see him do it,
in Basuma's defence, he's not on number 6. He shouldn't be playing that far back.
But that's why I said, okay, but if I said to you, we keep Basuma, but he plays as an 8 and he's a squad player, he's a bench player, I feel like he'd fit the system for that.
Very erratic. I don't know. He's he's the most inconsistent player I think we have in the whole team. You know that.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah.
But the thing with Basuma is at Brighton, because he was like a main man player, I think, and because he was like, I'd say big fish in a small pond sort of thing.
Yeah.
He was really good, and he was playing in the midfield.
He's come to Spurs, and it's almost gone.
He's playing in midfield 3. Obviously, Conte plays with a 2, so he's never going to play that well anyway. Midfield 3, where he had like a proper DM behind him, an actual like destroyer. And then he could just do his thing. It's a bit different. By the way, like I said, I still don't think he's the best player. I think he's very erratic. But this is why I don't think he'll be here in the next year or 2. I think he'll be sold. But
Reguilon, no. Papsar, yes, absolutely. And people can talk about his penalty, but let's be honest with you, he has improved so much. He's going to be a top player. He's got the legs for the system. He's got the ability in the final third. But he's grown on the goals and the assists. He's consistent. He's very, very error prone. Like, it's the first major error I've seen him make in a while. So I have no problem with him at all. Odobert, it's too early to tell because he spent so long injured. On paper, yes, he can take on his man. He can beat his man. He's got pace. He's got energy. But
him. That's what I heard.
Yeah, and Ange wanted him as well. And I'll make a comment about the youngsters in a second because he said something the other day which really, really interested me. But obviously, it's too early to tell with Odobert yet. Bergville, the way he's played the last 2 games, yes. Because I think we're seeing... He came on. He didn't misplace a single pass when he came on.
What game, sorry, are we talking about?
Against Chelsea. He didn't misplace a single pass.
17 4-2.
Yeah. 17 out of 17. But this is what I'm saying, though. And I think someone actually made a point the other day about something, but I'll tell you in a second. Son? No. It breaks my heart, but that chance he missed shows to me that he is a squad player at best. I can't believe he missed it. He
You know,
was
Ange had that
scoring
whole thing like
them.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was the same, literally in the stands. I couldn't believe
I
it.
think, but that's another. I think if you said to someone right now, you're going to play a handful of games a season and you're going to be a squad player from next year, you'll stay for 2 years and then retire, or stay for 2 years, go
They
back to
won't let him
Korea.
go,
Or,
man. You know what they'll do? I already predicted this. They're going to get him and I can't pronounce the new guy's name, Korean kid, on
yeah,
Spurs TV together, and this guy's going to say, "Oh, Son's my idol," blah blah blah, and they're going to kind of push. You know how people push the
yeah,
narrative in the media, the Koreans to this new kid. Oh, he's the next Son. You should support. You know what I'm saying, right? Because it'll come out of Son's mouth. It's scripted, man. It's
well,
definitely like
anyway, we'll talk about
honestly, like it's
we'll talk
just
about that in a second. Timo Werner, no, he actually does fit the system really, really well. He just can't score. If he could be what he is at his best moments, 7 out of 10 times for Tottenham, I'd have no problem keeping him as a squad player. No problem. Because he creates so much. He's so much. It kind of shows that when you have wingers that can beat the offside trap and have that electric pace, how many chances have we created through Werner this season that we've not scored? How many?
on the
An
weekend. I mean, we
abundance
were
of
losing
chances.
4-2 by that point, but he put in a ball in, and to be honest, I don't blame him because he was on the right as well, which
Yeah.
is even worse. That, but like, and basically, it was not a hit and hope, but he just put it in a nice area, and Son couldn't get on the end of it. That's basically what it
Yeah.
was.
I just think for me, he's
I
one
just
of
don't
the.
think he's was he 29?
Yeah, I agree with what you said in the summer when we spoke about him in the transfer window breakdown that he's not going to improve. But my thought process is it shows that the profile of player works for the system. Like if we had Son 5 years ago in Ange's system, my God, the amount of chances we create on the wing, his goal scoring ability in his peak years, he'd be scoring 45 goals a season, genuinely, because we create that many chances down the wings. It just so happens that those chances come with a player who's quicker but can't finish.
I mean, he's lost a bit of his like. The first 30 minutes, he was pressing a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But he looks tired too quickly. He's not.
After that, he was done. He was like
him missing that chance for me. You said it. You said there'll be some point this season where you accept the fact that Son can't be a star anymore, and that was it for me.
Problem is that he'll turn
missing that chance. Like I would have. The fact that we've seen Werner get into so many great positions on that left this season and create so many chances and just not have the composure to finish. That was the one thing we always trumped, that Son always trumped over him, was yes, he hasn't quite got a pace and he's not going to create as much, but he'll finish the chance when he gets them. The fact that he didn't. Dominic Solanke, yes. First of all, by the way, can we just talk about his finish, please? That first goal. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. That movement in front of Colville and the strength he had to hold Colville. Once he was in front of him, he wasn't getting anywhere near that ball.
No, it was great. Mainly because he kind of did it instinctively. But to be fair, he's been so starved of crosses. Like,
honestly. Yeah, I think we need to look at maybe putting the ball in before we get to the byline a little bit more, because he's always in and around that position and he's proven he can finish. But I would just want to say as well, his pressing was absolutely unbelievable at the weekend again. And I think.
But this is what I mean. Biggest things he presses so much that when he gets to that, because don't get me wrong, Solanke, I think he's one of Solanke. I don't think he's the best striker in the world, but he has very little supply because of this type of football we play. We kind of walk it in instead of like he's a target. I get told every time he's a target man. When do we ever play along? When do we ever put crosses in for him to get on the end of? Very rarely. I don't understand it. What's the point in having him? Plus, by the time he's done all the running, because he drops off. Because I was speaking to someone, you don't know his channel, but he was telling me, and he made a very good point about this. When we're in possession, the problem with Tottenham is Andrew wants everyone to create, and so what it is, say Kulusevski drops in, then it means Solanke drops. So by the time we do that, the other team's got all the way back, and at the same time, Solanke's all the way already like in midfield. And it's like, well, hold on, don't you want him to stay out front so you can have a target to hit?
I think part of it is a little bit about the lack of composure from players like Basuma and that in midfield.
They just can't.
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I think buying a left winger fixes a lot of our attacking problems.
Honestly,
anyway, Richarlison, no. I don't think so.
He won't be here.
No, I don't think he will. Kulusevski, yes. Brennan Johnson, yes, as a squad player. And I'll tell you why. He has improved a lot this season. And his ability to read the game from being on the other side of the pitch and make those runs into the box. He's scored a lot of goals, created a lot of chances because of it, and he's a player playing with confidence now. But for me,
only assist this whole season, right?
Well, this is going to be my point. For me, it's great being on the end of crosses, but what I need is when the ball's on the right hand side, can you do what the left hand side is doing for you? And the answer right now is no.
Problem with Johnson is his work, and this is nothing to do with the system. His work rate is not that great. Like, it's very inconsistent. I think he doesn't know. I see him. He's got mad pace. He doesn't take on players. I see him.
If he could learn to have the confidence to take on.
I think he's been given a pass because it's GA. Basically, he knows where to tap the ball in, pretty much.
Yeah,
but because that's the only goal we kind of score. I mean, he's just getting away with it. GA.
In that way, it works.
Good of a player. I think he's actually an average player.
I think I'd say he's average, but right now being used to his strengths in the sense of every time the ball's on the left, he's literally. And I went back and watched all of his goals this season. He's in that 18-yard box, in that 6-yard, on the edge of that 6-yard box every single time.
Because the other day, obviously, Werner assisted him, right? Because Werner can't score; he's always going to cross it. So Johnson's always going to be at the end of it, really, because it's not. But then the problem is with that is like where's Solanke's not really involved in those moves as much because he's so pressing or so far back.
But that's the thing, though. As far as I'm concerned, I've got no problem with it. If we're attacking down the left and Solanke takes away a defender, so the right winger's got to tap it at the back post, or if we're on the right and the ball's being played across and Solanke takes away a defender, so there's a tap it at the back post, I've got no problem with that. It doesn't matter to me who scores the goals as long as Solanke's effective in what he does, which he is. My problem is Brennan Johnson is great on the end of the chances, which is what initially we had last season, but he can't create on the when we're playing on the left. Like we were talking about, if we got the ball on the left, the right winger moves in. He's great. But when we're on the right, can he get the ball in for the left wing to move into the back post? No. No, he can't. And that's why I think he's a squad player. Mikey Moore, yes. I guess it's a little bit too early for him, so I'm not really going to include that too much.
I'm not saying about Bergvall because to me it's too early.
Yeah, I'd say it's too early. And Will Lancashire, I'd say yes from what I've seen, but again, it's a little bit too early.
I'm not that hot on him.
So to go through that list then, Vicario's 1, Romero's 2, Porro's 3, Udogi's 4, Van der Ven's 5, Gray's 6, Bentancur's 7, Sar's 8, Solanke's 9, Kulusevski's 10, and Brendan Johnson's squad players 11. So we have 11 players. Now, bearing in mind, quite a few of those are squad players. You can't even make if we were to make a starting 11 to play Angie's way, quote unquote, with the players that we believe are capable, right? Vicario in goal. Udogi, Van der Ven, Romero, Porro, cool. Bentancur is a 6, Gray rotating as a 6, cool. Sarr as one of the 8s, cool. Solanke up front, cool. Kulusevski is one of the other 8s, cool. And Brendan Johnson off the bench. We can't even field a full 11 based on the players we've said that we personally believe being hypercritical.
And why did he drop 50 million on Johnson then?
But this is what. But do you remember what I said to you? Do you remember what I said to you a couple of months ago about when I build a squad on Football Manager? If I don't have the money in one season, what I do is I go and sign a mid-level player to start, and once I've got the money, I drop him to be a squad player, bring up the starter in I want, and then the player who's pretty crap, who's on my bench for the first season or two till I've made Champions League football, then I get rid of him. And then my overall squad. Do you remember what we were saying about? Like increasing overall squad quality. We broke down the squad and what players, like for example, we were saying, Romero goes, or we used an example like we bring in a left winger, Son drops to the bench, Werner goes. That makes our squad depth and our squad quality better overall. That's where we're at now, that we need to go and bring in a starting left winger that's got the quality, you can put the balls into the box and can finish, and then Son drops to the bench and then Werner goes. And on the right-hand side, you go and bring in a right winger who can do what you need to do, and then Brendan Johnson drops to the bench.
If we got Neto in the summer, would he have dropped Johnson, you think?
Say again?
If we got Neto in the summer, Johnson would have dropped to the bench, right?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah. Or whoever was out of form, Son or Johnson, they would have been dropped and Neto would have been in over either side.
I mean, he would have killed us on the weekend.
And it's funny you say that because this is my next point. Someone brought up Neto, Gallagher and Toshin, right? Adebayo, the Nigerian fella. No, but they were the ones we were and Lloyd Kelly, right? They were the main ones we were linked to. Now, you look at Lloyd Kelly, would I rather have Lloyd Kelly coming in or Toshin coming in alongside Ben Davies instead of Dragusin? Yeah, probably. They're experienced, they're strong, tall, big, good in the
They
air,
play the
whatever.
high line, though.
They're quick. Both Lloyd Kelly not so much, but Toshin Adebayo is rapid. Then you look at
Chelsea now, doesn't he? Right?
he does, yeah. Then you look at Gallagher. Him alongside Sarr or him alongside Kulusevski, he's got the running power, he's got the physicality, he's got the energy, he's got the athleticism. So again, you can see an experienced player where that fits. Then you look at Neto.
With Gallagher, though, is that he was never going to come. So why did we?
No, he wasn't. But I'm just talking about Angie's first choices.
Why did he not look at an alternative player then, like that?
Hold on 2 seconds. And then Neto, again, we look at Son and we look at Brennan Johnson. It's the same argument. People sit there and say that Ange didn't want any quality and Ange didn't want any experience in the summer. I'm going to incline to agree with you on this point, especially with what's come out with Romero since, and say that's probably not actually accurate. And if you look at the links we had, we were linked with an experienced winger, we were linked with an experienced midfielder, and we were linked with 2 experienced centre-backs, all that fit the system, all that were capable of playing, all that were probably squad player or just above, but would have pushed our current starters to be squad players, so our overall quality in depth and our overall numbers were more. Would you disagree?
I would argue, though, Gallagher would have probably taken a star spot.
Okay, but let's say, for example, then, that our front three was Son, Solanke, Neto.
Not the actual players. I think the problem is the system. It's
2 seconds for a second, right?
So
let's say our players were Son, Solanke, Neto, rotating on the right wing Johnson, rotating in the middle with Charleston, rotating on the left, whoever the fuck, I don't know. In midfield, Kulusevski rotating with Maddison, Sarr and Gallagher rotating between each other, but Bentancur starting, Basuma then on the bench. Obviously, there were no fullback links really in the summer, apart from the left back from Italy. But again, he got a massive injury right before the start of the season, so it was never going to happen. And then you have Van der Ven and Adebayo, who's left-footed, by the way, and Romero and Dragusin. You can't tell me that that's not a lot more experienced, a lot closer, a lot more players that fit his system, a lot better quality, a lot more Premier League proven than where we're at now. So actually, when you look at what we were linked to in the summer, and you look at the comments you've made about Neto constantly, and even though you disagreed about Gallagher and you didn't think he'd come, the comments Andrew's made about Gallagher in the past, if you look at the players we were linked to and you look at the players we tried to go for and the players that we really pushed in on because they were players that we'd been linked to and they were experienced and Premier League quality, if we had that squad now, I don't think we'd be in this, regardless of what you think of the system, I don't think we'd be in as much of a mess as what we are. Bearing in mind, we're only 5 points off top 4, and you look at who we've lost to, that extra quality and that extra energy and that extra depth allows us to, imagine you're taking Sarr off at 60 minutes and bringing on Gallagher with the exact same press level and the same passing quality.
Personally, in my opinion, that doesn't make much of a difference. The problem is, you look at the Bournemouth game, which you don't want to talk about, mate, 2 passes they're in. Chelsea game, 2 passes they're in. It's the system. It's not. Don't get me wrong. I don't think our players are that great, right? I don't think they're the most amazing players. I think that some of them are good, some of them are average, some of them are. Let's not talk about Werner, but the thing is, these players have been running.
Category of his own. You never thought he'd have that.
Been running to the ground, right? Like even if you change the personnel, I think we
might
score a couple more goals here and there. Like with Neto's way better than Johnson, right? And we might create a bit more for Solanke, which would be helpful. But we don't play the ball long. We're not direct. So Solanke, I think, he's great for the pressing. Yeah, great. He's one. And I look at Chelsea. You know what pissed me off the most on the weekend? It wasn't the actual obviously the result pissed me off. But when I looked at Chelsea and Maresca, right? He did 2 or 3 things, which I was like, why doesn't our manager not do this? Okay, obviously there was the restrictions off the touchline that I saw constantly, right? He, instead of inverting both fullbacks in the second half, he just inverted Cucurella and brought on Gusto to make that change to make 4 at the back. Yeah. So Cucurella inverted. It suffocated us. Number 3, he's clearly just willing to adapt because he bloody changed the system at half time and made changes. And it's just like their pressing was 10 times better than ours, right? And the guy's been there for 3 months.
But I think the problem is, right?
Solanke's great at pressing. The problem is you can't just say, Solanke's great because Johnson's not great at pressing. Son doesn't have the legs for it.
But this is my point. This is my point, though, right? And I had a massive argument with my mate of mine.
His pressing's not great, right?
But hold on. This is my point, though. I had a disagreement with a mate of mine because his personal belief, like you, is adapt to the players you've got just to get results, whatever. My personal belief, and this is how I would be as a football manager until I was blue in the face, is play the way you want to play, prove that it can work on occasions, which gives you justification for needing the money to get the players in to play your optimum way.
Once every 10 games, once every 5-6 games, it works.
But this is what I'm saying to you, though. You literally just sat there and gone 2/3 of our front line isn't good enough to play Ange's way. You've just admitted it yourself.
No,
so Ange beating Manchester City.
The problem I have is Brennan Johnson is a player that Ange wanted, right? A man like Johnson don't press like Ange wants. So Ange, mate, is your fault.
Okay, but no offense, you can get it wrong though. You could turn around and go, "Oh, I want to date Selena Gomez," and then date her and think, "Oh, I've got exactly what I'm looking for," and it turns out that she's a right cunt, and you're like, "You know what? This is what I thought I wanted, but now I'm in the moment."
But I'm not paying quite what I want. $3 million a year to make a football decision, mate. I'm just like dating's a completely different scenario.
But what I'm saying is but the metaphor applies in the sense of sometimes you can look at all the data, and you can look at all the metrics, and you can look at all the scouting. But you can look at all the scouting, and if the 3 games you go and watch, he's pressing, and the stats show that he's effective finishing at the back post, and that's what you need.
But he wouldn't have been pressing at Forest that much because they played a counter-attacking style. This is what bugs me the most.
That's a good point.
And I'm just like, and the thing is with Johnson, he wasn't even playing as a winger. This is what bugs me as well. Like he was, and I don't even like Johnson. You know how much I don't like Johnson. I don't like Johnson. I don't think he's a great player. He's not someone I would sign. He's not a winger that I get excited about every time he plays. Because like we said, the first cross I've ever seen him do this whole season. It's been like half a season almost. And Slanky got to the end of it. I was like, I finally saw Johnson cross after like 6 months. But what I'm saying is, like, and then he played as a second striker at Forest. He didn't even play on the right. So, like, if he went and bought, I don't know what right wing was available that summer. I don't know. Someone, I'm trying to think. Someone was sold Kane, so he was available. Like even Eze, like if you put him in the middle of midfield, I didn't think that's more of a fit because at least he's a ball carrier. But then I think we'd have a problem where he would want to play him or Kulu, for example. I don't think he'd drop a runner in Sarr because he loves his athletes. And I mean, you could argue he might play Gallagher, Sarr, and Kulusevski as a free. But then the problem with that is you don't have a destroyer in that midfield. Like it just doesn't work, man. This team, this system.
I just think, right. It comes back to the whole argument I made of.
Edwards the only one who can play as a 6 because
let's say there's 2 approaches to this situation, right? I give you a fork and a spoon, and I ask you to make me this a castle out of sand, and I want it to be this level spec. You got 2 choices. You either build me a cup and go, well, I can build you a castle, but this is all I'm capable of building with the tools I've got right now. It's a great looking cup, but it's about that big. For those who can't see, about 2.5 inches, 3 inches, whatever. It's great detail. I've drawn a handle with wet sand and whatever with a spoon and whatever. But if you want more than that, then you need to give me the tools. Or you build a castle that's like 10% done. The rest of it's falling apart and go, if you want the rest, I've proven the first little bit it can be done. You want the rest of it, give me the right tools and I'll finish the rest of it. And I think, my personal approach would be the latter. I know my mate's approach would be the first way. And I know yours is kind of 50-50 depending on what players you've got available. And like it might fluctuate depending on those you've got key positions.
But this is what I mean about available. Like Arteta, right? Everyone points to Arteta as why we should need patience. Let me finish. We need patience. Arteta, to his credit, in his first season, he adapted to the players he had, and he had some god awful players, right? And they went and won a cup, right? Yeah, FA Cup in his first season, and it's like, well,
but my argument to that
didn't have the players he wanted in his first season. Why did he not do something different? He did. He carried on.
My counterpoint to that is
we're not even using for me.
My counterpoint.
I think they fit the system, right? I think they don't. Should I tell you? Because they don't. It doesn't play to their strengths. You could argue.
Definitely does.
No, it doesn't play to his strengths.
Porro's got more goals and assists than any other defender since he joined in 2023. You can't argue that he's not been effective. He is. Well, he's not been effective in the way you would want him to be, but he's still been effective whether you like it or not.
His strength of it, he's the best crosser we have at the club, right? And we're playing him inverted.
Okay, but he's still getting the numbers. So whether you want to use him that way or not, if he's still I would understand your point. If like Udogie, he had next to no goals and assist numbers, I'd agree with you. And on Udogie, I agree we're not playing to his strengths. But with
Porro suffering attack defensively.
With Porro, the numbers are there offensively, so you can't argue with that. Defensively, yeah, okay, cool.
They're both
but then
suffering.
I think the large amount of the defensive problem is down to the fact I can't believe I'm going to say this. Fuck off. Is the fact that the holding midfielder, whoever it is, when they're defending, doesn't have a brain cell. So they've got less coverage. Okay, let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question.
To defend. The guy's going to run like 100 fucking meters.
Hold on, let me ask you this question. Right? If you were defending and the wing back still forward, or the inverted wing back still forward, whatever, and you had to tell Romero to move out wide to cover that space slightly, and you'd have the holding midfielder sit just above, in front of that centre-back space to help cover it. If it was Basuma or if it was Højbjerg, who would you trust more?
To do what? Sorry.
If it was Basuma or Højbjerg in that same role, dropping in just in front of the centre-back role as Romero's moved over to cover Porro. Right, there you go. So in my opinion, the fact that Basuma isn't defending, I don't know he's being played there and we don't agree with that, but I don't think...
shifted out Højbjerg though, because the whole
Ange shifted out Højbjerg. Ange basically went, "I'm going to prioritise the attack first before the defence."
Which is why it's hurt us.
I agree to an extent, but this is where I think in the long term it will be a benefit because the guy we do bring in,
at least we would have had an actual number 6 in the squad. But
what I'm saying is when we do bring in someone to do that, and they are more defensively mindset.
Like Cardoso, for example, I looked at some videos. Yeah, this is not a number 6. Like the guy's not a number 6 for the Premier League.
But that's exactly where he plays.
But the La Liga is totally different, mate. To this, we need in the Premier League. This is why Ange is out of his depth, bro. Like you need strong players in there. Why do you think we succeeded so much with Wanyama and Dembele? Because they were animals, man, in the midfield. Parker and Modric, Sandro and Modric, Palacios and Modric. Because you had a player there who was a destroyer. We do not play with a destroyer. It's okay saying he's a number 6, but is he a destroyer type? No. Højbjerg, for his...
Yeah, I'm looking at it. He's not. He's closer to Basuma stat-wise.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Højbjerg, don't wrong, he's not the best DM in the world, right? And he's a great job under Jose and stuff because we played a bit deeper. But, again, he's not like an elite destroyer. He's a destroyer, but he's not like an elite destroyer. And I knew he would sell in the summer. I had a feeling that he would sell Højbjerg. I think Højbjerg had 18 months left or something. And Skip as well because he didn't like his number 6s. He don't play with... I've had so many conversations with people. He doesn't play with an actual number 6. He plays with 2 8s. And one just sometimes drops off. Like Bentacle, sometimes I've noticed they'll drop into that little hole.
No, I would disagree. When you look at our heat map, we do play with a triangle with 2 further forward and 1 slightly further back. It's just for the fact that Basuma doesn't understand when to go and when to drop. And if you had somebody, if you had somebody with Basuma's attacking ability, but who also preempted when to drop half a yard, I think that would help. I'm not saying it would solve, but I think that would help a large proportion of our problems because you look. And the minute we lose the ball, right, let me drop half yard, protect the centre backs. And then the centre backs can push a bit further wide.
The goal we can see with Basuma, right? You didn't drop. He didn't need to drop half yard, mate. He had to drop flipping I don't know how many yards to run back to cover the space he left for attacking. Right, the DM should be sitting. I'm not having him go up forward.
No, but I disagree because a DM doesn't have to sit. It's not Brexit ball.
I brought 2 people, who hadn't watched Spurs in the flesh. Right, they're Spurs fans. They hadn't watched Spurs in the flesh ever.
Yeah.
The game. And they know I'm Ange out anyway. I banged on about the high line, I banged on about everything. And they thought I was overestimating it, bringing it proud. You get to the game. The first comment my friend makes is, why are the centre halves so far outside of each other? Where's the defensive midfield? I'm like, yeah, he's up there, mate. And it's like, because
I just think if you have a defensive midfielder with a bit more common sense.
They're on the halfway line, yeah? And your fullbacks, they're not. It's not like, for example,
but
I look at
my point. Hold on. My point.
Palace, right? Romero plays that crossfield pass, which is suicidal, right? There's those in Palace players there. But if he had an option of the fullback being on the right, for example, is an easier pass.
Like, but my point in counter of this is we don't look half as open when Bentancur plays as when Basuma plays. And that
think we look
tells
open.
me we still look open to a degree, yeah, but this system is high risk, high reward. You do have to accept the fact that some systems.
This is the problem.
No, but unless you want to play, right, listen, unless you want to play.
Football worked because, yes, we played attacking football, but we also had a defensive balance. There's no balance in the team. Like, the way we play, there's no balance at all. It's like, you know what, guys? Playing 5-a-side. Everyone go forward. All right, okay, just you stay back, Van de Ven, because your legs, you can run like a madman and you can cover everyone else. There's literally like 5-a-side. When I watch us play, it's like I'm watching 5-a-side, except we're 11-a-side. Like, it's chaos. We're chaotic. Like, it just doesn't work. And I said, you said about Dogan Porro working this system. Yes, maybe the statistics may support Porro, but I would argue we're not playing to their strengths, especially because they were wing backs. Let's be honest, they were wing backs before they came to Spurs.
Yeah, but players change all the time. Players adapt all the time.
I think Porro is being killed playing the system as well. Like, like we said the other week,
legs wise, yeah, he looked exhausted, yeah. But that comes back to the fact that, and while me and you both, the one thing we do agree on is that we think Spence should be given a chance.
And a regular.
I do think personally that if we have a big January and a big summer, that in 12 months, and we're going to do the 12 months of Tottenham, like towards it'll go the week of Christmas. So we're going to predict what we think Tottenham are going to look like in 12 months. And I personally believe that with the right, if Romero's comments hold weight, and if that feeling is unanimous in the dressing room, and if big names or key players are threatening to leave, if that investment isn't brought in,
because Son,
or the manager's sacked,
the leadership group consists of Son, Romero.
No, I'm not just talking about the leadership group though. If I'm talking about
big players, we have big personalities.
But it doesn't. You don't have to be a big personality to be impactful. If someone like Porro, let me answer the fucking question, and I'll give you an answer. If someone like Porro, or if someone like Van de Ven, or if someone like Kulusevski have gone to Daniel Levy and gone, we've seen what Romero said, we agree with him. If you don't back Ange, or if you sack Ange in the summer, we're looking for a way out. And we will just stop playing and we will force a way out because it's clear that you don't care about what the long-term goals are and they're not what you promised when you joined. If Bentancur falls into that mould as well, just because we don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. And now Romero has pushed the egg down the hill. You and I both know that it just takes one. It just takes one. And then it builds and 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 it builds.
Also, I think the problem is that unless the whole squad does it, which I don't think is going to happen.
But I don't think it needs to take the whole squad. All it needs to take is...
If Maddison, because he's part of the leadership group, if Maddison wasn't the situation he is with Ange, I'd be more on your point. Problem is, Maddison knows as a footballer he's not going to play to his strengths. He knows, obviously, some personal fallout with Ange. And our problem is he would, the playground, and have one people agrees with this, and there's civil war, I guess, at Spurs. And we still like civil war because I think Maddison would probably take the side against Ange.
Maddison would, but that's only one example.
Some players, I think, will go with him because he's quite a
I think Maddison and Spence right now are the only two
that you know of. Regulon, three.
Well, but Regulon knows his time's up anyway.
So he got taken off after like 10 minutes.
I don't think Bergwell's in that bout. I think Bergwell's in that. I'm unsure, but I'm going to be patient.
Archie Gray? I don't know. Maybe
I don't think Gray falls into that.
What I'm saying is we don't know. Like, for all you know, you say.
But based on what we can see, in my opinion,
remember, like a month ago, saying Dogi, Porro, Bentancur, and whatever didn't like Ange. So if you add another 5 there, that's like 7.
I don't agree with that. I think that was all crap.
I actually think it will cause civil war because I think some players don't like him. Like
Tottenham Hotspur, civil war. Who's picking up the shield? Do you reckon? I'm joking. Who's got the webs? Anyway, no. Do you know what?
I just don't think there's enough. Like, if it was all the leadership group, right, who were with Ange, yeah, especially Sonny. I don't know if he cares enough. Anyway,
but this is my point, though, right? Well, does it not hold more merit? Does it not hold?
When Maddison, whether you like it or not, is one of the big personalities in the squad. If he went to Levy and says, "Ange ain't playing me," and remember that Rose interview we saw?
Yeah.
And Dombele interview we saw. Like, I had to say at least.
But I would argue though that the World Cup, the only real, actual, proven winner in our squad, being the one to do it, holds more weight than anybody else. We always said that we wish Lloris, being a World Cup winner who captained his country to the World Cup and had a major honour, who was the only player with a major trophy in that bulk of players, would turn around and come out, or that was like within the 10-year period.
Situation is, it depends how you see his years left on his contract. If he had 3 years, 4 years, I'd be more in your camp, right?
Let me check when his
If he's
contract.
got a year left, for all I know, this could be like a game thing. Like, do you know what I mean? Because like with Kane saying what he said and stuff like that, you know, I'm not as convinced as you that's something that's going to change.
Well, what year are we going into 2025? Yeah, he's got 2 years left. But I believe there's an option to extend on that, which then makes it 3 years. Because I'm pretty sure it was 4 plus 1.
I just saw the quote, sorry.
Yeah. So what I think personally, it holds more weight coming from a proven winner.
He'll get sold anyway, so
ultimately, we don't know. But this is my point, though. Now Romero's made it public. He's almost, to an extent, maybe is what you said, but to some extent, I feel like he's done it. He's done it because if the club if he doesn't put in a transfer request and the club choose to sell him because of his comments, then the minute he leaves, he's going to sit there and go, Spurs fans, that's everything you need to get Levy out.
The other thing, another thing against Romero is he missed a lot of games just before Argentina played, so that's another thing.
No, but we've just got to take his comments for face value in the situation we're referring to.
I just think if he said this last year, I'd be more on your side.
But what I'm saying, we don't know what they were. We don't know what we were what the fans, what the players were promised in the summer in the transfer market. If they were promised, we're going to go and get £60 million players, and we brought in one.
How much say do players have about who comes in? Really?
I don't think they have a say on who comes in. But if you're a player and you've we've just had an okay season with Ange, good foundation for the first year, clear where the holes are. Daniel Levy, just out of curiosity, I'm just like my agent's telling me a couple of clubs are interested.
At the same
What's
time,
the plan for the summer?
A bad example because he has actually won something.
Say?
Because like for him, he's won the World Cup. Like for him,
and the Copa America,
less of a big deal. Really.
It is, but surely though, if you've already done it with your country and you've ticked both of those boxes,
I know it sounds weird. If it was Son, I'd be more like or if it was Madison, I don't think.
But then Son knows that he's not going to be here in 2 years. So what's the point in him saying it?
Well, if he wants the clubs, if he's a club man, he wants the club to succeed, then.
Yeah, but right, okay. Let me tell you this now. How many players like Ledley King or whatever they say it after they've left, but not during.
King won't say now. He works for the club.
No, he won't say it now. No, because he's ambassador. He did for a little bit.
Plus, the club, to the club's credit, even though I'm not going on the tangent about King, but because of his injuries, they still supported him a lot.
Yeah.
So he kind of owes the club for the support and stuff. So. Yeah, I mean...
So there's two other points I want to make quickly, and then I want to talk about your interaction with a Tottenham legend before we go. So this actually hasn't been as volatile as I thought it was going to be. The one major point I want to bring up is we were talking about the young players last year, and we just spoke about the transfer window and how the squad would look if we got the players we were linked to, not just the young players. One of the things he said was he signed the young players not expecting the finished product in year one. Because he was planning for where's our peak going to be with these players? Hold on, he's saying he was almost kind of saying like in 5 years' time when these players are hitting their peak and everyone's at their peak together, and we've added the extra cogs to the puzzle. What's it going to look like? That's what I'm looking at. I'm not looking at 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. I'm looking at where am I going to be with Tottenham in 5 years now. Unfortunately, whether we like it or not, the process of a project, you've seen Grand Designs, right? Fucking OG program, absolutely fucking love it. That started with an idea, with blueprints, with contacts with engineers, with designs, whatever. Before the land is bought, or before the building materials are brought, or before the final sign-off is done, there's loads of things done before that. The house is the final project. We don't just wake up one day. You could be $1 billion. Right, Harry, I could give you £10 billion right now and go, right, Harry, you've got 3 days to buy a plot of land and build a house. It's never, ever going to happen. Not enough money in the world is ever going to make a project of that volume be done in that time frame. In the same thing with Tottenham, hold on 2 seconds. In the same thing with Tottenham, no amount of money is going to have us get to where we need to be overnight because of how bad it's got. So it is going to take, for me, I said with Ange, I was going to go, I wanted 3 summers, and then towards the end of the 3rd summer season, I would judge it, right? We've just had summer number 2. So in my mind, if we've not signed anybody in January, this will be a completely different conversation. Because at that point then, Levy's ignored the players, he's ignored the manager, he's ignored the fans, and we're falling. And at that point, I would go to Ange and go resign. Because no matter how much I think, and no matter how much we want him to be successful, it's never going to happen. If we go and spend, and we go and sign 3 £30 million players in January, that improve us. We go and get a left back to compete with the Dogie. We send Spence on loan, go get a right back to compete with Porro. 2 players that require a lot of fitness, a lot of stamina. And we go and bring in, let's say we're bringing Cardoso, and Basuma moves further forward for rotation, and there's Bentancur, Cardoso, got an extra midfielder in there, whatever. And we go and bring in another winger on loan. Because in this situation, the winger we want, no, 2 seconds. In this situation, the winger we want will not leave halfway through the year, but this is who we want. We're going to go again in the summer. We're going to throw everything we have them in the summer, but they won't leave halfway through a year because they're at a club that's doing well. That the guy from Frankfurt, the Egyptian guy, for example, for example, right? Yeah. Then I would look at that January and go, okay, good, not quite great, but he's laid the foundations for an outstanding summer that helps us get to the next step. If we do nothing in January, or if we do the bare minimum, or if we do 1 or 2 shoddy loans in January, I'm going to sit there and go, I will hold my hands up and go, Ange, there's the door, go somewhere else, go be successful. Go to West Ham, where they've got attacking players, they've got the quality, they needed a bit more talent, they've proven they're willing to spend. Go to West Ham, be successful, win an FA Cup, spit back in Daniel Levy's face. I disagree.
Let me finish about. Can I have a counter to what you just said?
Okay? Yeah, go on.
I think he's just reading out a PR line, to be honest. And to be honest, the problem with Ange is he's contradicted himself yet again. Because what did he say? I always win trophies in my second season. So if you're doing a project, mate, I don't expect you to say I always win trophies. Oh, should we change my title this season? Which is what he said in the West Ham game last season, ironically. So you can't be saying things like that, and then the minute when it goes bad, suddenly say, well, I sign young players in the summer because I'm here for 5 years. Also, Ange's track records, he doesn't stay more than 2 years in most of his previous teams. So the problem is that his track record doesn't go for it. The words he said before contradict what you just said now. So this is why when I don't really watch his press conferences that much, unless something major happens, he says something stupid, and someone's like, "Oh, did you hear what he said? Oh, I'm going to go watch a clip now." Without context. No, it wasn't out context. Ange got in another monologue again and got himself into trouble. Oh, here we go again. Anyway, but this.
So, do you think he's made a rod that's broken his own back then by saying that we're going to win something in the second year, rather than going, I win something in my second year normally because I come into a project further along?
Yeah. Or I'd be more on his side if he said, okay, in my past jobs, I've won stuff in my second season, but this is a new challenge. Even if he said something like that. Or if he said, after West Ham, he ignored the title comment.
Yeah. But I think this comes back to that whole hour and a half we spent.
Because he's told us it will take more time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
it's like going to a builder and going, how long is it going to take to build my garage extension? It will take 3 weeks.
It's like
get into week two and going, sorry, mate, I need another 8 weeks. And going, well, actually, you should have asked for 8 weeks in the first place, and I would have had a problem. But because you told me 3 weeks, now I want it done in 3 weeks.
I had to say, it's kind of a reflection of Levy, because Levy told us it would take a year to build the stadium. We took, a year and 7 months?
And the rest. The other thing I would say, it kind of comes back to that episode we did talking about Ange's insecurities, because I feel like one of the reasons he put so much emphasis on winning the trophy is because he knew that how desperately Spurs fans wanted it. He was almost trying to...
We were told, because he got given a big contract. Don't forget, Conte only got 2 years, I think?
18 months, because he came out.
18-month contract, yeah, literally. And this guy was given 4 years. If he came out...
He wasn't given 4 years, he's given 3 years.
Anyway, it's still twice as long as whatever. Anyway, but if he came out and said, yeah, it's twice as long as 18 months times 2 is 2 years. 36 months. It's 36 months.
Yeah, but 2 years is 24 months. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Fuck off. Okay, it's been a long week. I've done work 6 days in a row. Give me a break.
If he came from the outset, rather than, when we were on our 10 match winning run, I was saying fans dare to dream, blah, blah, blah. He should have said, we need to keep, this is early stage, to keep your hands on your feet. This is a project. This will take a few years. I'd be more on his side because he's telling us it will take time, right? Like, Poch never came out and said, oh, we're going to challenge for the title of the season after, which, okay, we did as a partly by accident, partly because a lot of the players we had came of age. I use that phrase quite a lot because I have a Renat's team as well. Came of age and clicked because obviously he filled a few holes with Alderweireld, and anyway, he plugged the holes he knew he needed to fill with the players with Paul Mitchell before he walked away from leaving Paul Mitchell. But he never told us, "Oh, we're challenging for the title," or even the season after with Chelsea. I remember Poch ever saying, and you even see these bigger managers like Pep, right? Obviously, he's going for a bad patch, right? They keep asking him, "Will you challenge for the league this season?" The guy bats off well, he doesn't say it ever really. Even when Pep are really on top, right? I never see him saying, "Oh, we're going to win the title." Oh,
yeah, but right. Do you know what I've observed from watching football managers is the managers that are trying to overcompensate, oversell them, and the managers that kind of know deep down, well, I'm going to win it anyway. So
that's the problem then, isn't it?
Right, let me tell you this. Yeah. If I was running a race, right, and I found out that the 3 people I'm running against had all broken their leg, and they were going to have to hot wheel crutches, I'd sit and someone goes, "Are you expecting to win this race due to recent injuries?" I go, "Well, it's going to be a tough challenge. We'll be there or thereabouts." Because in the back of my head, I'm going, "Mate, I've got this in a fucking bag."
Yeah,
if you're one of those people, if you're going on a racing against 3 other people, and they're all kind of a little bit better than you, a little bit more experienced, you're going to sit there and go, "Yeah, we're going to push them as long as we can. We're going to give all the effort. We're going to take it to the final," because you believe that, but you kind of know. You need to show a brave face because you're the underdog in that situation.
You're saying he's going to win the thing. There's a big difference. What you said.
Yeah, I do think he was stupid for saying that. To be fair, that's one thing I will agree with you.
But it's arrogance. This is honestly
right. So this is a question. This is, and I actually want this to be the title.
If he was Jose or Conte or Pep or like an actual big manager, not this guy from bloody Celtic, then I'd be like, fair enough. I can understand the arrogance, but it's like, mate, you've not really achieved anything. You don't win a big league title in Europe's top 5 leagues ever, right? You've not done anything in Europe's top 5 leagues, and you know yourself you're lucky to get this job. Don't blow smoke up your ass. You're not anyone yet. And the problem is, Adges, he's 58, and this is his first job in the Europe's top 5 leagues. There's also an argument out there that because he's so old, he can't really adapt because he's only played a certain way. And the whole phrase.
That's crap. That's crap. Because managers are changing. That's bullshit. Managers change all the time.
But then,
the other thing I want to talk about because
Sandro
forever.
I
want to talk something else quickly before Sandro because this is meant to be my general outline for the whole episode, and I have a quick answer for it. So hopefully we're not going to talk for another 45 minutes, but I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to give my answer in one word, explain why, and then I want to hear your thoughts, right? Because I've been thinking about this all day. What is the biggest problem at Tottenham? My answer, ignorance. Ignorance from the owners that they think they can get away with allowing the squad to go stale under so many managers and not invest minimally and hire their mates to be fucking scouts and whatever and think that it won't catch up with them. Ignorance from the manager that, one, Levy would give him everything he promised in one window, because it was never going to happen. And ignorance that, let's say he doesn't get anything in January and he goes in the summer, ignorance that he was going to be given the resources to play such an intense way for a club that was so far from that. Ignorance a bit from the manager that there wasn't going to be more bumps in the road than what we've had. Ignorance from the fans that a project can be completed in 24 hours.
But that's not our fault.
Let me.
That's not all we were told.
Let me speak, please. I'm going to start having a talking bear in a minute and just pass around a fucking thing like we're in year 6 or some shit. It's been decades since Harry was in year 6.
Yeah, it has been decades.
Me too, to be fair. See, this is why I didn't want you to interrupt because I now forgot my point. Ignorance from the fans that a project can be completed in 24 months because it can't, no matter what you are, no matter who you are, it can't. Ignorance from the fans that there weren't going to be some difficult choices regarding fan favourites, Son being an example of that. Ignorance from everybody involved that those first 10 games this season were both the ceiling and the minimum. Ignorance from the minimum side that it was never going to be sustainable straight away because the lack of depth, the lack of quality, lack of a goal scorer last season, lack of a main striker last season.
To be fair, Son got 20-something goals.
Ignorance from the owners that was going to be it. And after that 10 games, we're going to go on a massive run. Actually, no, you do need to continue to adapt and advance. And ignorance from the fans that it gets worse before it gets better. No matter what you are in life, it gets worse before it gets better. And especially, Poch spoke about a painful rebuild years ago, and I would still argue we haven't had that yet. And painful rebuild doesn't just mean losing your favourite players. It means losing the player that you thought might make it.
It doesn't.
And you were certain might make it, but the manager doesn't believe him. Painful rebuild in the sense of you're going to have embarrassing results along the way. Painful rebuild in the sense of sometimes you're just going to want to quit, give up, and you're going to want to pull the trigger. And it's like the best example I can give for pulling the trigger is my stepdad was looking at moving away, and I was always worried that he'd move away the day before it was all meant to come together. And lo and behold, the week that he was planning on moving, he didn't move, and now he got a better job. He's working 50 hours a week. I don't even see him anymore. Like, everything's come together, and that happened because he didn't pull the trigger a day too early. So that's what I would say. The biggest problem with ignorance is ignorance. And I wouldn't say that any one party is to blame or any one party is to blame or that no parties aren't to blame. I think everyone has a part in that, including the fans to a degree, because it's ignorant to think that you don't have to be patient. And I'm not saying that excuses Ange or excuses Levy, but ignorant that a project's just going to happen overnight. I think that's the best way to describe the problem right now at Tottenham is everyone's ignorant in their own way around their own problems, and it's not helping. And it's going to take every party and to swallow his pride a little bit and go, I'm going to have to come out to the fans and go, look, we are going to get there, but it's going to take a bit longer than what I promised, but I'm going to stick by it. Levy to swallow his pride and go, we need more than what we initially thought, but we're going to do our best to get that. Joe Lewis and the people that actually send the money into our accounts to go, actually, we are going to spend the money we just initially didn't think we were going to. And the fans to go, do you know what? It is difficult, it is rocky, but everybody else has admitted their faults. Let's admit ours. Let's give it a bit more time for a project, for what a project would be. As unbiased as you can be, as Ange-tinted glasses as it can be,
He's the problem.
What do you think of that? Because I think personally, without being arrogant, I pretty much hit the nail on the head there.
For his tactics and lack of adaptation in games. But anyway, that's another ignorance I'll add to that. Personally. Yeah. Because for his gun.
But can you see my overall point? How everyone's individual ignorance is currently causing our problems.
That's probably the fans thing. Pinning on the fans, I blame the fans for other things, not this. It's because we were told other messages from Levy and for Ange himself as well. If we were told it will take time, as much as I hate it, I'd still be sitting there saying, well, the manager told us it will take time. The club told us. They've Levy put a statement out saying, Ange's signed for 3 years. We're doing a project. Yeah. So as much as I hate it, I'll be like, yeah, okay. At least he told us something, which is obviously right now.
So would you say that there's a bit of ignorance on Ange he underestimated the level of change he's going to have to make?
No. I think he overrates himself partly because all these. I look at Enzo Maresca. He came from the Championship right to the Premier League. You could argue really because obviously he was. I think he was Pep's assistant, was he as well?
Yeah.
Another one like Arteta, I guess. But I don't ever get the impression when I watch his interviews or whatever, even downplays Chelsea being in the title race, by the way, and they're on this crazy run, which is the opposite of what Ange
but he's done that because he knows his goalkeeper's a bellend. So
no. But then Ange did the opposite though, didn't he? Last season, he said, "Let the fans dream." Blah, we could do anything. Blah. No, if it's a project, and Enzo, it shows me that Enzo knows there's a project, it's a long-term thing, and they might. I'm not saying they won't win the league. I don't see them winning the league, but they might. Later in the season have a bad patch, right? The difference is because the manager didn't come out and say, "Oh, we're in the title race."
He's lowered the bar so that if they do well, then it's exceptional. If they don't do great, it's still above the bar.
Right? So the difference with Ange is because he's like I said, he spends 2 years at clubs most of the time, 2-3 years, kind of like Jose and Conte. So the whole idea that Ange is going to be a project manager kind of doesn't completely hold weight. But he came out and said other comments, right? If he downplayed where we were in the first 10 games and he said, "This will take time." And what I'm saying, the messages the club is sending to fans is what the problem is as well. Like they're not transparent.
Yeah, they're not all on the same
They're not
page.
transparent. No, the club isn't transparent ever to us. They don't tell us, and we all know the project. We might say project is buying youth and selling them on later on. I mean, like as much as I don't like Archie Gray, if he becomes a good player, and we don't do anything whilst he's here, when there's like 2-3 years where he's peaking, he'll be gone for 80 million or something. To some, I don't know, like United or something. I'm just
So you
like
generally
Amarim.
don't.
Amarim's another one. Just on United, do you think Amarim's going to come out and say after they win 3 games on the trot, we can make the Champions League this season, we can win the title?
Have you seen the edit of him dressed as Bob the Builder going, "Fuck, no, it's fucked," and then walking away?
Yeah. Or we're 3 points off the top. We're in the title race because Ange was even last season. We've been saying, well, mathematically, we're not out of it or something. I remember he's saying, I'm like, what are you smoking?
Yeah, but to be fair, I do kind of get that because strange things have happened, and we've seen average teams, go on mental runs.
I've only seen Slot, who's top of the league, Liverpool, and they've only lost 1 game all season.
Yeah, but the reason he's not doing that is because it's his first season.
But that's what I mean. Ange did not do that in his first season.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, it's a bit of naivety from Ange. Okay, but let me ask you this then.
And the fans, I blame them for one thing, with the whole Levy thing. Like, there's not enough support against them.
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you this question then. Do you think that if Ange had downplayed and made it clear it was a project and put a more realistic time frame on it, do you think that my assessment of what I've said isn't far from the truth, realistically?
Yeah, but like I said, the problem is because the fans are, let's be honest, the people that pay to watch the team. In terms of like ignorance with like the board and the hierarchy, I don't think the board and the hierarchy really want to win. I've not seen evidence of that in 20 years of them being here. So unless you say ignorance of Ange to believe them, I don't know. Unless Ange is just here for a payday, I don't know. Like, I can't answer that question.
Yeah, we can't answer those specifics. I would say the reason why I say ignorance about the board is because they clearly felt that they got lucky with the squad that Poch had and the players Poch had and the style of play and everything. All the nails hit at the right time in that Poch era, and I think ignorance from them is that they think that's going to happen every time they hire a new manager.
Player was 18 months.
Yeah. That wasn't going to catch up with you. You know, it obviously was. Yeah. So, okay, now that's fair enough then. So I think actually the view of the situation.
I would actually be more on your team if Andrew wasn't saying so much nonsense.
Okay, no, yeah, I completely fair that. I completely respect that.
A lot of people say don't listen to what he says, but then he made a comment the other day. What was it? Oh, I can't remember. And he basically told us what he was going to do, and then he did it. And I was like, so he doesn't talk. Obviously, he isn't talking like out of his own arse, as in that he believes what he says. Oh, he's saying something. You know.
So that's a good thing because it does show that he does believe he's capable of winning trophies at Spurs. But that's a bad thing because he's almost given us false hope. So we're more disappointed than what we actually need to be based on where the project is, if that makes sense. Like if I turn around and say to you, say?
He didn't even tell us it was a project, did he?
No, I guess in a way, like when you consider it to like Jurgen Klopp's entrance at Liverpool, he said, I'm just going to turn you from doubters into believers. He didn't put a time frame on that.
He didn't say.
Whereas Andrew's kind of tried to do a similar thing, but the difference is he's broke his own back by saying, I win things in 2 years. That being said, right, and we might sit there completely dumbfounded at the end of the season. Let's say, just for argument's sake, that we win the Carabao. We beat Man United, we win the Carabao Cup. We probably won't, but let's say we do, just for argument's sake.
Yeah.
And he goes and gets some investment in January, and that partakes in winning us the Carabao Cup. And then we go and we just fall short of the Europa League for a team that have won it recently or bigger club, whatever. And then we go and get big investment again in the summer. Then I might be sitting there saying, actually, do you know what? He's not that far wrong. We have won a trophy in our second year. We are building the foundations. The players that have called out the owners and the board have forced them to spend. Actually, in my mind now, the next 6 months are so important about the trajectory of Tottenham because I'm not going to go into that too much detail on that because we're going to do a whole episode on what we think the next 12 months are going to look like. But and I think we should do that every year, actually. I don't know. Well, you never know. We might do this podcast for 2 years, probably. No, we'll do it for longer than that. But anyway, other point. But it'd be cool to do it every year and do like a half an hour view of what the last 12 months are like, half an hour what the next 12 months are going to look like. Anyway, I just think the next 6 months can change so much because if we get it right and we get January right and the results start to come and we have a strong end to the season and we get top 4 and then we spend the money in the summer and we push to that next level, we could be sat here this time next year going, we're fully behind Ange, we're fully believing the project, the players we've signed have changed everything, the board have been backed into a corner and forced to swallow their pride, key players have signed new contracts, the young players are starting to hit some positive form, the South Korean kid, the Odebert, Bergville starting to inform Archie Gray, and we're starting to see why they were signed in the first place. We could be sat here in 12 months looking at a completely different conversation. We could also be sitting here saying Ange's been sacked, Tony Pulis is appointed manager, Mick McCarthy's in the dressing room, it can't get any worse, can it? It fucking can. Or Ryan Mason's permanent manager, playing 4-4-2, Brexit ball, the ball's being hoofed up to Solanke, he's knocking it down to Aaron Lennon's grandchild, I don't fucking know, whatever. So I think the next 12 months the next 6 months initially are so important.
So what happens if we don't sign anyone in January? Because Ange has repeatedly said.
Then if we don't sign anybody in January and Ange doesn't call out the club in his first press conference after that, then fuck the football, fuck the results, fuck the trophies. I don't care how much because you can't sit there and beg for players and make a whole point about the reason why we're nowhere near our potential is because we haven't got the players, we haven't got the depth. Have your players say we haven't got the players, we haven't got the depth, only to be happy signing no one. Which is why I think that the journalist who's quite big with Chelsea, I can't remember his name, Matt Law, and The Athletic also both have come out around and said that our transfer negotiations and movements and shit started 6-8 weeks ago. So if that is the case, then that shows that Ange knows he hasn't got everything he needs. He's gone in there swinging and gone, give me the fuck of what I need, otherwise I'm going to sabotage the season until we lose everything. And the board have gone, keep playing your way. Doesn't matter about results right now. We're going to give you a buy. Keep playing your way and we'll give you what you need in January. Let's hope that that's the case and those meetings are the way they come across. But then we get bitten by this every year, so who knows? But to be fair, the last year I noticed where we had that kind of conversation personally between the two of us, we then went and signed Bentancur and Kulusevski in that January, and they were game changers. All we can hope for is something similar again. Even if we get one fullback and one winger that have those kind of impacts that those two players have had, I'd be happy with that for a January transfer window.
I'm not expecting anything, to be honest. So.
Well, anyway, let's see. Let's see what's under the tree. Another Christmas pun, why not? Go on, talk about Harry met Sandro. The game on Sunday. I realise we haven't even spoke about the game really on Sunday, but this was more about talking about the direction of the club than it was.
So with Sandro, I'll try and keep it brief if you want to talk about the game. But anyway, I was quite to speak to him. Surprisingly, he was actually a really down-to-earth guy. Like, he was lovely. He spoke to us for like 15, 20 minutes. Like, there's some guy to come and tell him, yeah, my kid's waiting for you for a picture. And he's still talking to us like 10, 15, 20 minutes. So eventually I had to shake my hand again and go. But anyway, it was really... So I asked him, well, what do you think the problem is with inconsistency? Because he said it himself. I didn't say this. He said it himself. And he was like, well, when I was here, we would go on runs and go say 10... He used his hands like this, but it's going 10 games, we'll win, say, 6, 7 of them, draw 2 and lose 1. And then we'd have a few games where we would lose, say, 2 or 3 or 2 or something. But then we'd go and pick back up again. When I see us now, he goes, we're up, down. He's like, I can't understand why we beat City and lose to Ipswich, he goes to me, and lose to Palace, that he didn't understand it. Because in this conversation started when I went into Sandro, I wish you were on the pitch today, and I heard you were still playing football because we need number 6. But he goes to me, because when I was on the pitch, he goes to me, I was that player. He goes, I knew my ability and I knew I'd go crunch. Yeah. He was the destroyer, basically, I could talk about. And I go to him, well, we don't have a player like you, basically. Yeah. And that's what I think the problem is, partly. I said partly that was the problem. But he was really enthusiastic about Spurs. He loves the club.
Yeah, he loves
Spurs. He still watches the game. When Arsenal Fulham was on, because we were there.
Yeah.
He was like, I hate them so much. He goes, I hate Arsenal so much.
He is proper Spurs through and through, man.
He was great. And then we were talking about football in general. This is what I mean. There was a long conversation. And he goes, guys, do you think football's changed since I was playing? I go, we're like, yeah. And my mate goes, because of Pep. And he goes to my mate, ball. He was really surprised how much we knew. And so, he was, and because he spoke about his goal against Chelsea, he goes to me, his favourite one was against United. That banger against United.
Yeah,
so I love that one. But yeah, he was refreshingly honest. I thought, a lot of the ex-players will come and, especially someone like him, so he has about Spurs,
Yeah.
and be like, "Oh, the club's amazing. It's all good right now."
He's the definition of a cult hero.
But he was refreshingly honest, because I asked him, "What do you think the problem is?" And he goes to me, because I don't see the players. He told me himself have that urgency. I see as what he was saying as urgency or desire every game.
I think that's the point. I think when we went through that list of players, the majority of those players that we ruled out.
He said the best player he played was Bell, by the way. He was talking about the Bell.
I could have told you that.
2012, he was he was amazing with giving the ball. He was like, "I'll get the ball." He goes to me, "I'll just give it to him.
Get the ball to Bell and he will score." That should have been a chant.
I thought Redknapp's team was my favourite Spurs team, so it was great. I started with the best thing when you meet someone new, start with a compliment. So first of all, and then it was just after that, he was he just opened up. Really, he was.
By the way, guys, Harry didn't ask him to come on the podcast, which is a massive L. So that's nice to hear.
To be honest, I think if you messaged him, he probably would. He seemed that kind of person. I think.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sick.
He was such.
Well, should we play Redknapp themed Guess Who with him? Yeah. How well do you know your teammates? We've picked a random player from your era. First one to guess it gets a point.
He'll probably get most of them right.
Yeah, probably. This is our last Spurs week, apart from the 12 months of Tottenham, which we were going to do in between the Christmas one and the New Year's one. So that's going to be quite fun.
Next Sunday, by the way, is it Sunday we're recording?
Yeah, we're recording Sunday, yeah. So next week's episode, which we're recording on Sunday, as Harry just alluded to, thanks for telling everybody, Harry, we are doing a Christmas party! Jazz hands and everything. We are going to be full Christmassy. Harry's going to put Christmas hat on, I'm going to put Christmas hat on. We're going to talk about nothing about Spurs. You watch Andrew get sacked somehow, or Levy will die and get shot in the head or something. And we're going to talk about Christmas films, Christmas movies, favourite Christmas Day traditions, favourite Christmas Day decorations. Also, everything Christmas Day is going to be fucking awesome. I really can't wait. Ever since we decided this, towards the end of November, we both said we just can't wait for this.
Then Spurs for an hour is quite nice.
So we're going to record that on the Sunday, and that'll go out next week. And then on Monday, we're going to record the 12 months of Tottenham, which will go out the week of Christmas, because I'm going somewhere Christmas Eve. So we're going to talk about where we think Tottenham are going to be in 12 months. Objectively, we're not going to talk about the results or whatever that have happened in between that. We'll save that for the first episode of New Year, because I'm going to have a bulk of stuff to talk about in January. And then the last episode of the year will be New Year. So because this is the last football episode per se of the year, I just want to say thank you guys so much for all the support and all the love and all the growth and the numbers that we've had this year. I can't believe we recorded an episode every single week, apart from the tiny break we took between the two. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Jack as well. I know he's coming on in the new year. Kieran, Charlotte as well. Everyone's been fantastic. And we'll have more on going into New Year for sure. It's been absolutely brilliant, and I really have loved the...
And even though I'm Ange out and he's Ange in, we've actually got it all right.
I think the thing is, we've known each other so long now, and been friends for a long time. We've been to Spurs games together and whatever. I think we just kind of have that balance, and that's what brings it nice and authentic. That you might be Ange out, and I might be Ange in, out, shaking all about. Pass the ball back, can you turn around? That's what it's all about. Hey, that is definitely not going on TikTok. I think we bring a nice balance to each other, and we've said this all year. It's so nice. We've had the one heated episode, but other than that, it's been nice and it's been balanced, and we've brought different views to it, and it's been good. Apart from losing to Guess Who, but that will be back in 2025. Oh, we're beating your ass. So in January we've got, obviously, we'll have the North London Derby preview again. We'll have, because that's the week of my birthday. We'll have the Everton preview. We're going to do a top
on a Wednesday. It's actually mad.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's why that was going out the Friday before, because it just makes sense. We'll have the preview. We've got an episode that we'll record before I go away for my birthday. I'm in Liverpool for my birthday. Just another quick thing as well for those guys that don't know. If you don't see me around over the next, you see this on Friday. So up and for a couple of days either side of the weekend, I'm going back into hospital at the weekend. So I have a camera shoved up my arse. I've got to have a colonoscopy. I've had some quite big health problems in the last couple of months, and my blood test came back and they weren't great. So I've got to have colonoscopy booked. It was meant to be booked for February, but then they rechecked my bloods and said that it was more severe. So I'm having that at the weekend, like Saturday, as you guys are watching this on the Friday. So if I'm not about on social media or whatever, that's why. I'm hoping for the best, and I'll know. Like I say, I'll know more on Saturday, and I'll update you guys if there's anything severe next week. Touch wood, I'll be fine. I'm here to piss Harry off for another year.
Don't worry, he's not going to die. So
well, that's what we think. But yeah, so hopefully I'll be sound. But if you don't hear from me the weekend, that's why it's a really bleak way to end the episode, isn't it? But yeah, thank you guys so much for the love.
If come out next week, then you know.
Yeah, I'm dead. Thank you guys so much for the love and the support this year. It's been absolutely fantastic, and it really has been the highlight of my week on a. To be honest, it was a Tuesday, but now Mondays to sit and record.
Channel, no, I have another channel as well. I stream on, and me and TJ, we love our streams. But I go on other channels, right? And to be honest, this is my favorite recording because at least it's just fun. Like some channels you go on, it's just too serious.
It's good to have a laugh at a joke, and even the Guess Who episodes to break up during international breaks.
And about this and that.
It's just nice to. Half the time, Harry doesn't know with me what I'm going to say. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I'll come in and go. Yeah, exactly. And I think it's more authentic because you can see, like, we're recording this in a video. This isn't edited. The only time I have to edit is if the internet
to be fair, on my channel, I don't do that much talking. Most of the time, people come on and just talk. Most of the time, so for me, it's actually a chance for me to say what I want to say most because it's just two of us.
And the thing is, it's nice as well because like I say, it's unfiltered. Like if I post something to Harry, you see his genuine response to that, facial expressions and all, looking like the Grinch sometimes. I don't know. That was a really bad impression of the Grinch. Again, that's not clipping on TikTok.
Yeah.
But I cut it at the beginning, cut it at the end from when we started talking, when we finished talking, and that's that. And that's how it's been for the whole time we've had this podcast. That's what it was like when I did it with Ramon as well. So for me personally, it's really nice to trust that we can put an authentic conversation out once a week. And if people listen or people don't listen, then, that's on them. But we're going to continue to keep putting it out. And hopefully, like I say, next year we'll branch out with guests more and hopefully continue to grow it. If I can. Yes, definitely. And Harry's New Year's resolution is going to be to tweet from the fucking podcast account. He boasted me for weeks about getting
actually, I need to mention why that's not been happening. My phone just keeps wanting to do updates. And I'm like, it's ridiculous every week. It's like, software update. You know, like iOS, whatever else. Do another one the other day. Uninstall apps, reinstall apps. And it's just like, So hopefully I'll have a new phone by next year as well.
I'm going to end this with a great phrase. Excuses are like arseholes. Everyone's got one and they're full of shit. Thank you and good night. Come on, you Spurs.